Warning, this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners. Due to the graphic nature, listener discretion is advised. Welcome from wherever you are. This is the Demon Inside podcast. I am your host, John Venom. If you would like to review another episode of the Demon Inside, you can go to Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any podcast platform. You can also find us on YouTube and on our website, thedemoninside.podcast.transistor.fm. And please don't forget to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars. A new episode will come out once a week.
Tonight, a family is mourning a young Charlotte woman. She was killed in such a violent way. We are not sharing all the details on TV. Laura Miller was brutally killed at a home in East Charlotte over the weekend. Channel 9's Joe Bruno joins us live tonight with new information. And Joe, sadly, we report on a lot of violent crimes here in the Queen City, but experts say the extreme nature of this one is rare.
And we spoke to Laura's mom tonight. She described her daughter as the most kind and caring person. She is in such disbelief at all of this. The suspect is behind bars tonight. The details of this crime are just really hard to stomach. Even some experts are left scratching their heads at the brutality involved in this case. All of this as a family searches for answers. This is Miguel Gonzalez Rosalas. Neighbors say blood was dripping from his apartment Easter Sunday. Inside is where police say he killed and dismembered Laura Miller. He is one of 10 people now over the last 10 years to be charged with destroying remains and concealing a death. UNC Charlotte criminology professor Dr. Charisse Costin couldn't believe the details of the case.
I was horrified. While it is rare, it does happen.
Police say this wasn't a domestic situation, but neighbors say the two knew each other and could often be heard fighting. As recently as last Thursday, a neighbor says she saw the suspect banging on Miller's door with a baseball bat, telling her to open up or he would kill her. Prosecutors say the 35-year-old's mutilated body was found surrounded by crosses made out of broken table legs with salt sprinkled around her. Costin says despite the demonic and religious imagery, there usually isn't a connection.
Sometimes they get it through music, sometimes they get it through movies, but as far as that type of murder itself, it's usually not connected to any real Satanism or the occult.
Finding out why this happened is the focus of Miller's family. Her uncle tells Channel 9 they won't rest until they get answers.
We want to know why this happened. Why did he have to do this? What was the purpose of it? What kind of anger is that?
The man arrested does not have any significant criminal history, just minor traffic infractions. Police have not said what weapon was used, but they said a gun was not involved. Live in East Charlotte, Joe Bruno, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
As we learn more details about this case, it becomes even more disturbing. Thank you for digging into it, Joe. We're going to continue to follow this case, including if and when that suspect appears in court. You can also hear reactions from Miller's neighbor. We have all that coverage on WSOCTV.com and on our free app.
Hello, my Demon Insiders, and welcome back to the Demon Inside. I'm your host, John Venom, and today we are going to be doing the case of the Demon Inside, Miguel Gonzalez Rosalas. Now, I've been looking into this for some time, and I was really hoping that I could get more information as time went by. Like I've talked to you before, what happens a lot of times is that the newer cases, I don't find a lot on, especially because since COVID happened, a lot of these trials are way backed up. So this case happened on Easter Sunday, April of 2023, and Miguel Gonzalez Rosales, I couldn't find any background to him. I scanned everywhere. As a matter of fact, I was even thinking of getting in touch with him after the case was done, because the way it looked, they were going to charge him with murder and desecrating a body and auto theft. Now, the problem that I came to was quite recently, he actually died in prison. So now I was waiting for why or how he died in prison, and that hasn't come up either. So let me give you what I do know about this case. And like I said, it's not going to be a lot. I ran his background with a DOB, date of birth, and he was born December 26, 1986. And like I said, his name is Miguel Gonzalez Rosales, and I know he has a brother. And other than that, he had no criminal history. According to some of these reports, he had, like traffic tickets, things like that, but nothing to this extreme. Now, what I did learn also was that he was the neighbor to the victim. They lived in an apartment complex, and this was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they lived next door to each other. They weren't dating. They weren't anything other than neighbors or friends, maybe. I don't know. All I know is from what people have said through interviews. Now, one of the guys that was the neighbor of them said that they had seen him a few days before with a baseball bat, banging at the door, at her door, saying to let him in or he would kill her. Now, if she felt threatened, I believe she would have called the police. And there was no report of that. So what the neighbor said is his word, because there's no file of it. And this case is full of these things. And who knows, maybe when he was banging on the door of her apartment, maybe she wasn't even home, so she didn't even know it happened to call the police. But what we do know for sure is that on April 9th, 2023, on Easter Sunday, Miguel Gonzalez Rosales killed his neighbor. Now we're going to get into that, and this is very graphic. So if you don't have a stomach for this, and I've told you all this before, don't listen to this. And I have to tell you how he killed her, because there's a lot of things that people, like you heard on the news episode that I put at the beginning, that they don't know why he might have done this. Now, from my point of view, I don't know exactly why he did it, and I can't ask him because he's not here anymore. But what I can do is tell you what I might think happened. So this is from my point of view, and this is coming from what we do on this show, my background in not only Catholicism but different religions, plus we've gone deep into Old Testament type of philosophies that really, could be possible. But forget all that for now, and let's talk about how he killed her. So on April 9th, like I said, it was a Sunday. It was Easter Sunday. Now, if you're not a Christian or a Catholic or, anybody that celebrates Easter, let me explain what Easter is real quick, and I'm sure everybody knows what Easter is. Easter is the day that Jesus Christ rose from the dead and came back to life after his crucifixion. Now, it's believed that those 3 days he was in hell and was taking the souls of people out of hell that were forgiven through his blood, through the body of Christ. Okay, now I'm not going to get religious on you. That's what it was. So let's get into the crime. His brother, which is Miguel's brother, showed up to Miguel's house. Miguel wasn't there, but his brother saw blood coming from the door, and it was leaking onto the front of the apartment, into the concrete. So he opened the door to his brother's apartment, and right there by the door was the dead neighbor. Now he called 911 right away, and the police get there. And again, here's the warning. Again, this is going to be very descriptive, but I have to do this for this show, so bear with me. So the victim's ankles were bound by a cable, and there were multiple wires wrapped around her neck. She also suffered from a laceration starting at her neck and running to her belly button. In other words, he stabbed her in the neck and he cut her open down to her belly button. She had extensive damage to her face to the point where she was unrecognizable. The police observed a broken table in the apartment, and he had made 3 crosses from the pieces of the table surrounding her body. Now, also, there were burns on both inner thighs, and salt was poured around her and the room. There was human tissue found scattered throughout the apartment, and her tongue was found in the dining room. There was blood on the floor outside of the apartment, and blood had seeped out of the door and down to the floor below. So, as an investigator, this is where I try to figure out what he was doing. Now, I've heard one show talk about this. There's a handful of newspaper articles online, but other than that, you know, a few YouTube, well, actually 2 YouTube news media things that I found, and they were saying that she could have been tortured. Now, keep in mind, okay, and we're going to start this off very basic. He poured salt around her body and around the room. And it wasn't like they got into a fight where they hit the salt thing. They specifically say it was poured around her, not on her body, not between her legs, not on her face. They describe it as around her body and around the room. Salt has a lot to do with spirituality, but we'll get into that. Next, he placed 3 crosses from the broken table pieces and surrounded her body. Remember, this is Easter Sunday. So on the crucifixion of Christ, there was 3 crosses, the 2 bandits and Jesus Christ. Why is that significant in this case? Now, the psychologist or whatever, and she has her thoughts and theories, of course, which are fine, but she doesn't deal with the Mexican culture that I have. This guy is a Hispanic Mexican. I mean, we deal with this type of culture. And I'm not saying what I'm saying is right, but a lot of these books don't understand the culture. And if you don't understand the culture, then you don't know where we're coming from. Now, also, she didn't have anything tied around her mouth to suggest that he was holding her from screaming. I mean, she could have screamed loud as hell. And people in the apartment complex, I know when I lived in one, I could hear the neighbors upstairs just listening to their TV. There was nothing covering her mouth to stop her from screaming, and nobody heard anything. Her hands were not bound like her legs and her neck. Now, there's a lot of ways he could have killed her. By crushing her face. He could have stopped her from screaming by cutting out her tongue, which we heard about. But if you're gonna do that, then why torture her with the burning of the inside of her legs unless you want to hear those screams, unless you want to hear your tortures doing an effect to your victim? A lot of this to me doesn't make sense. One of the people that I heard the only person that I heard talk about the salt said that he was pouring salt into her wounds. I didn't see any of that on any of the news things that I found. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But that's a jump, especially if you see the salt around you, and that's what they described. They didn't describe salt in the wounds. They described salt around the body. So this guy kills his neighbor, does all this evil to her, pours the salt around her, puts the crosses, locks the door to his apartment, and leaves in her car. Now they catch him 2 hours later down the road. The body, they didn't say how long she had been deceased. So I am assuming that it happened that morning. Maybe not too long before the brother got there. I would have found it more strange if he would have killed her Friday night or Friday morning when it was the crucifixion of Christ, which would have been Good Friday. And then they found her on Easter Sunday. This doesn't have anything to do with a satanic cult or Satanism or any of that. This guy, he was trying to fight a demon. Now, I'm not saying that she was a demon. She was not possessed. She was not a demon. The demons were in him. And they probably made him look at her as if she was a demon and he was fighting this demon and trying to keep her soul from going with the demons. And that's why he put the crosses around her, and that's why he put the salt around her to ward off the evil spirits so that her soul could be lifted and go to heaven. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the salt. And I was gonna tell you, I've dealt with salt for protection from evil spirits in the house. We've done sage, I've done holy water and salt. And this is coming straight from the internet, a lot of times some of this stuff, it's harder for me to explain from my point of view. So I'm going to read from the internet, and this is what it says. In spirituality, salt symbolizes purification, protection, and spiritual cleansing, acting as a barrier against negative energies and evil spirits. It is also associated with grounding spiritual energies, fostering harmony, and representing eternal bonds of covenants, as seen in traditions from Judaism to Hinduism and Christian metaphorical uses. Its preservation qualities also link to vitality, healing, and the concept of spiritual rebirth. This guy thought that she, for some odd reason, was possessed, but it was him who was possessed and hearing the voices. He wasn't possessed himself, because if he was, he wouldn't care about throwing the salt and doing all that stuff. Demons don't care about the spirituality or the souls of us, and that's what he did. Now, I would have loved to have talked to him to see what he was thinking at the time, if he even remembered. I couldn't, because he was still in the process of being tried, like he was still going to court. And now we come to this problem. So on August of 2025, Miguel Gonzalez Rosalas died in prison. And I've been waiting for them to send a notice of how he died. And nobody has said anything. Now, if he would have committed suicide, that would have been on the news. If he would have been killed, that would have been on the news. They have not said how he died, because I believe they don't know how he died. This was a guy who was in his 30s, and there's rumors that the facility where he was at was mistreating people, because there's a lot of accusations against the place where he was staying. I'm not going to get into the conspiracy theories and all that. I mean, you can look it up just like I found it. I mean, you're not going to find much, but there are people that are suing that place. So maybe he was mistreated and he died, and they're keeping it from everybody. Or maybe, just maybe, the demon that was infesting him, because I do believe this was an infestation, I believe that this demon told him to kill his victim because that she was possessed and he was doing service to God or to whoever. And he believed it, like we've heard on so many episodes before. Except his nationality, as is mine, he put the salt around her and the crosses, because whether or not anybody really believes it, he cared about her. There was a lot of anger involved in this crime for all the things that he did to her. Now, let me give you this, and just bear with me, because I know as a investigator, this is going to sound very far-fetched. So for those of you that are not into that are into true crime, but not into the spiritual side, you might not like this part. What I believe is that this demon infested him, showed her being possessed even though she wasn't. Just like the last episode where he didn't remember or he didn't see anything that he did. White, if you guys remember him on the last episode. And this demon took over a little bit and started by killing her first. Okay? Bear with me. Now, let's say he crushed her head, but in his eyes, she was still fighting and moving like a demon. Because let me tell you this, guys, he has a shitload of scratches on his face, and I'm sure they're all over him, where this lady put up a hell of a fight, but it was too much for her. Now, what I believe also is that when he killed her, which was probably very quickly, he kept seeing that the demon was still alive, and he kept fighting this demon to stop it from talking, so he cut out her tongue. He kept fighting this demon where he crushed her head. He kept fighting this demon, and to make sure that the demon was dead, he started burning the inside of her legs to make sure that this demon was dead. And then after all this was said and done, he left. Now, I know what you're thinking. The salt and the crosses were put before he had even did anything to her. They were set up for her so that when he was going to get rid of the demon, he placed her in the middle of that circle. And he did everything in that circle. And that's why he threw the tongue into the dining room so that the demon would shut up. This was a very hard case for me, guys, because it kind of hits close to home sometimes. And I really do, don't get me wrong, feel sorry for all the victims, which is her family, him, his family. And now that the demon's done with him, the demon got rid of him. And that's all they want. And now he's going to move on to his next. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care of yourselves. I'll see y'all next week. Have a good one. Don't forget to subscribe to the Demon Inside podcast on any podcast platform. A new episode of the Demon Inside will be released every week. Let us know what you think of the episode on any of our social media platforms. If you have any questions or comments, go to the Demon Inside Podcast at gmail.com or click at the link below. We would love to hear from you. And to become a Demon Insider, go to the demoninsidepodcast.transistor.fm. We thank you for listening and hope you will join us next week for a new Demon Inside podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell your friends. I am John Venom, and I'll see you next time, if I don't get possessed. The Demon Inside was created and written by James Porter. It is a production of Venomous Entertainment. Background music is by Lucas King, and the title song, The Demon Inside, was produced by Rice Fulber. Music and lyrics by Peter Shelley, and performed by Conjure One. All the content on this podcast is strictly the opinion of the content creator and not the organization, its affiliates, or employees.